Suoslainet Oknia, welcome to Khmer Voices, where we shine a spotlight on the achievements of the Cambodian diaspora around the world. I'm your host, Vani, aka Vanny. Hey, Akun Traun for all the love on social media and the downloads and streams regarding my personal story. We are back to our regular programming, and today I am honored to have Nan Lee as a guest. I came across Nan on social media and was intrigued by her work attire. She's passionate about showing her Khmer identity through her wardrobe, no longer willing to just blend in to be accepted. I also started reading her Substack, and many of her words resonated with me, from navigating her identity to accepting her aikroi on her face. Yeah, we both have fly poop on our faces. So, I had to ask her to be on the show and learn her story. Plus, she's got quite the job title, and I wanted to see what it took for her to get there, as I'm sure you're intrigued as well. And the bio that she submitted captures perfectly everything we discussed. So, why alter what works, right? Here's what it says. Samantha Lee, Nan at home, Sam at work, is the vice president of operations at Sagewind Capital, a New York-based private equity firm she's called home since 2018. There, she leads firm-wide operations across HR, IT, and everything in between. Before stepping into the world of private equity, Nan cycled through 10 full-time jobs, 8 part-time jobs, and 6 gigs, viewing work as a survival tool more than a calling. It paid the bills. It helped her support her family and taught her how to keep going. She was the first in her family to earn a college degree, graduating from UCLA with a BA in English at 26. At 40, she completed her MBA in finance from Fordham's Gabelli School of Business. For Nan, it's never too late to become who we're meant to be, or to decide that who we are is already enough. Outside the office, Nan finds joy in cycling, sewing, and storytelling. She's passionate about cultural reclamation and healing intergenerational trauma, especially within the Cambodian diaspora. Her creative work braids memory, identity, and transformation through personal essays and handmade fashion rooted in Khmer textiles. She's currently learning to read and write in Khmer, reclaiming the language her parents once carried across an ocean. Through storytelling, a growing Khmer American wardrobe, and community connection, Nan is committed to honoring her past while shaping a future that feels both joyful and true. Netang Aknia, I'm excited for you to get to know Nan. Enjoy.
I'm so excited to be here, Vani. So happy to have this opportunity to talk to you and get to know you more.
Yeah, you have a very interesting background, and I've read some of your articles on Substack, and a lot of it resonates with me. So before we start talking about that, though, and your wardrobe as well, because that's the highlight of my feed these days, what you're wearing to the office. Can you tell us your family story, when you guys arrived in the U.S.?
Sure, yes. So I'm 41 years old. I was born in 1983 in Kawadang camp, which Cambodian people know as Turum. And I was there until I was 3 years old. And when we came to America, we came by way of the Philippines to Stockton, California. And we came in 1987, and I was about 3 then. And when we came to the U.S., we were a family of 6, and then we grew to a family of 9.
Wow.
Yes, so I have a big family.
How many siblings do you have?
I have 6 siblings, and I'm the second oldest. And so, but a lot in my family, because my older sister is 11 years older than me, I'm often considered the oldest, which I'm sure my older sister hates, actually.
Did you help raise your siblings then?
I did, yes. My younger siblings, to the point that when I was in my 20s, my younger siblings gave me Mother's Day card. And
Oh.
yeah, and I remember telling them, I was like, I was like, you can't do that, because one, I'm not your mom, and
Uh-huh.
second, you might hurt mom's feelings, like it's, like I mean, yeah, I don't know, I'm sure you could tell, I'm very like sentimental and aware, and like as my mom likes to tell me. Since I was a kid, I overthink things, or she says I think too much, like it's a bad thing. But yes, so that happened, and I was like, please don't give me cards that says Mother's Day. Like I would rather be your sister than your friend, than be considered your mom.
What's the age gap between you and the next oldest
Oh, so
sibling?
my younger, I have so I'm 41, and
Mm.
my sister is about to turn 40, so she's about a year and like 9 months younger than me. And then the next one is about 4 years, and then my twin brothers are 9 years younger than me, and then my youngest sibling is about 10 years younger than me.
Okay. And your older sister, did she play like a mother role as well?
She was like a mother to me, but
Uh-huh.
my sister got married when I was about 9, 10 years old, and so she was a mother to me for a short period of time. Whereas my younger siblings and I was, you know, a mother to them for a lot longer because I
Wow.
was single for a lot longer, and also I just am more outspoken or bossy is probably the better word.
So your sister that's just a year younger than you, did she have any sort of responsibilities to raise your brothers and sisters?
Well, I sort of made it like a game, and they all know this. So I invented a buddy system
Uh-huh.
because I didn't want to be the only one to like, watch all of them. So the buddy system in the beginning was me watching my brother Vased and Soki watching our brother Vasal, and then Pillin watching our youngest. So we had like, so whenever we traveled or was outside of home, you had one sibling to watch over. And then we switched because my baby sister, she was prone to crying a lot whenever our
Oh.
mom wasn't there. So then my youngest sister took my brother, and then I took, I was my little sister buddy. But I made it a game, and I made it, sort of like we all are responsible. But
So you were probably what, 10 then?
yeah, yeah, I was
11?
10.
Oh my goodness, it's
Yeah,
amazing how resourceful and creative you are at that age when you have to be, right? It's
yeah.
it's incredible.
But it's hard though, like it's like I think about it like I remember like my mom and dad having to work or going somewhere, and then me having to watch five younger siblings,
Mhm.
and then even worse when we were all together with our cousins. I have 14 cousins, and I'm like the oldest, and having to
Mhm.
watch 14 kids, like I have memories of it being chaotic and me being stressed out
Wow.
and me, but some of my cousins have told me that like they have really good memories of me, uh, yeah, just of me with them. And I was like, well, because I don't have that. um, I,
Oh.
I don't have that memory. I just have the memory of like, okay, let's think of what game. What game can we play? Should we play,
Yeah.
hide and seek? Should we play alligators? What do we want to play? Do we want to play Monopoly? No. Monopoly makes people cry. We cannot touch Monopoly. You know?
In a sense,
Yeah.
like, do you ever look back and you're like, my childhood was robbed?
You know, I I think I don't think so. Mainly because like my so sometimes a lot of people call me naive. Like my siblings also say that I'm a little head up in the clouds.
Mm.
I am a dreamer, and I think mainly it's because like when we were growing up, I never thought we were poor.
Mhm.
And the reason why I didn't think we were poor was because anything I wanted, my mom would give me. But I also don't want that much stuff.
Mhm.
Yeah, like this shirt that I'm wearing right now, it's from when I was a teenager. Like there's no like I will wear this until it falls apart, you know.
Yeah.
Um, and
So
I don't need to
I'm
replace it. Yeah,
I'm an audio only podcast, so listeners can't see what you're wearing. Can you describe what you're
Oh,
wearing?
sure. So I'm wearing a bamong, which is a Cambodian hand woven fabric, and it's hand woven. It's purple, but it has silver threads, and it has motifs that are symbolic to Cambodian culture and to yeah. This is whether it be diamonds or the flowers. I don't actually know what these are. I haven't had a chance to ask my mom about them, but it's because the Cambodian silk and cotton are hand woven, it has sort of like an iridescent quality to it, and it's not printed, so you can see the silver shine through
Yeah.
and sparkle in a way
Mm-hmm.
that embroidery
Mm-hmm.
doesn't. You can't see that with embroidery, but I this is it's pretty vibrant. Also, it's
Yeah.
not a it's not a muted color. But this actually is my sister Sophie's shirt that my mom kept, and I took a few years ago because I'm like, no one's gonna wear it. I'll wear it,
Yeah, it's beautiful.
and I still fit it, and that's the other thing too. Uh,
Okay, let's go back to your childhood and taking care of your siblings and your cousins when there's family gatherings. So you didn't feel like you felt like you still had a good childhood then. At the time though, did you feel any resentment for having to look after all the kids? Just cuz I'm asking
I
you
think
because
it's
I
because of
did
how we were
with my
raised, right?
sisters. Mhm.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is just because like I think it's for me personally, I love kids. Like before, like if I could have, I would have been a teacher, but that's another story. I love kids. They're like kids, little kids are my jam. Like even now when I meet kids, I don't like I get down on my knees and I talk to them, and I think for me taking care of my younger siblings was a natural thing. Like I enjoyed it, and I also loved my siblings. Like I remember when my little brothers were born, I was just like in awe of them, because there were two of them, first of all, and but I just felt like these, like, that I don't know, I just felt like so much love for them,
Aw.
and I think that's probably why, like, I have for a long time and up until I was in my 30s, I helped support my siblings and my parents, because and I didn't do it because I needed to or I had to. I did it because I wanted us all to be successful and to have, everything we needed. Like I wasn't doing it and expecting, like, them to, like, what
Repay you
Cambodian
back
says,
or anything.
no, what, brag.
Mhm.
I don't know if you know that word, but
What
yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, but for me, when I was younger, like everybody, my aunts and uncles would always say, you're the oldest, like you're the oldest. And like with that being the oldest, there was a responsibility. Like you had to watch out for your siblings. You had to take care of them. I knew how to change diapers ever since I was like 10 or whatever, and
Mhm.
when I was older, yes. So when I was young, I never felt cheated out of it. When I was older was when I felt cheated because I realized, oh, I had friends who, like, was an only child and didn't have to care about whether or not their siblings ate or whether or not their siblings did their homework,
Mhm.
so it was when I was older was when I realized, was I happy when I was a kid, or was I just happy because I didn't know any better?
Mhm.
And then I realized now, now that I'm in my 40s, I realized, yeah, I was happy, like
Mhm.
you know we're however you view your life is all perception, right? It's your perspective and how you choose to view it. And going back to why people think that I'm naive, and because of my optimism on how I want to view my life, I'm okay with being naive. Like I think that, like, yeah, yes, we were poor, but I didn't feel it because, like, I was also very much loved. My mom's love language was through food,
Mhm.
and my mom is a fantastic cook. If I told her that I was, that I wanted to eat something, my mom would make it, and she wouldn't buy it. She would, like, make it. And my favorite dish, Cambodian dish, is something most of my siblings hate, and it's something that takes a long time to make. It's numbachok,
Hmm.
and like and when I had to learn how to make it myself for myself, I realized,
Yeah.
wow, this is hard.
Yeah.
This is a lot of steps, making the grug, making the soup, and anyways. But just so yes, I guess the short answer is that when I was young, I didn't feel resentment.
Hmm.
It felt like I felt that obligation, and I
Hmm.
and I accepted it because I really truly do love my siblings, and I felt
Hmm.
like, and I did treat them like they were my kids, so much so that they, gave me cards for Mother's Day.
Mother's Day.
Yeah,
Oh,
but I didn't really, I don't know. I feel like it is part of the Cambodian culture.
it is.
And so, and because I was taught that that was my role as the older sister, um, I accepted it until I was probably like in my mid 30s was when I
Oh,
was just like,
wow.
yeah,
Yeah, I totally have had a different experience from you. Maybe because I saw my friends have the freedom and then I was
yeah,
stuck at home. My summers were given up taking care of my baby sisters, and I
hmm
was always the one who had to prep the food. Whereas my brother,
mm,
who's only 2 years younger than me, didn't have to do anything.
yeah.
And I just thought it was unfair that I had to do that. But it's great that, you were accepting of it and later learned.
Well, I also, like I told you, I made it like a game,
Yeah.
I had the buddy system.
Yeah.
I have my two sisters who were closer in my age. They also are female, so my sisters also helped with the cooking and the cleaning. And because of
Hmm.
the buddy system, I didn't. I wasn't solely responsible for them.
I
Like,
see.
um, you know,
Yeah.
um, I mean,
Very resourceful.
yeah, yeah. But
So how
like,
was
but then, go ahead. Sorry.
no, no. Well, I was going to ask you about school. What was school like? Were you surrounded by Asian or Khmer's? What kind of neighborhood did you grow up in?
Until I was 13, we were living in Stockton, California. And then we moved to Santa Ana. And in Stockton, there's a pretty big Cambodian community. And so we were around Cambodians, but we were also, my family, my mom has two sisters and a brother who lives in Stockton as well. And so every weekend we were with my aunts and uncles and my cousins. So we were always with Cambodian people. And then, but then when we moved to Santa Ana, it was different. In Santa Ana, there are Cambodian people, but they weren't family, so it felt different. It was harder. We didn't spend that much time around Cambodian people then. But at school, there were Cambodian people. And, that transition was so chaotic. And the reason why I say that is because there's a lot of stereotypes, if in American society. And so because I was a refugee,
Hmm.
I wasn't born in the U.S. I was placed in ELD, which is English language deficient, classes when we moved schools, and I was in
Well, at
that.
what age were you again?
I was in sixth grade.
And they only put you in
They put
English
me in
as a second
ELD.
language in
Yep.
grade 6.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, because of the move, and when I was in, because
Like, did they even
when
test you to see where your proficiency
nope,
was at?
nope, and they
That's
didn't wait for,
crazy.
yeah, and they didn't wait for my school records. And in Stockton, I was in GATE. I was in gifted and talented,
Hmm.
and I knew that I was in the wrong class because like I was in an English class where we were like looking up definitions of words and writing it down, and I was just too easy. And I had this teacher named Mr. Allen who I still think of and I'm still grateful for. So he knew I was in the wrong class. He knew that, he knew how quickly I did my assignments, the quizzes, the exams. I was just acing it. And I was
Hmm.
also very bored because I was also reading a lot. And he was the one that got me bumped up, not to just a regular class, right? But he also got me bumped up to honors. Um,
Oh, amazing.
Yeah. And I was kind of embarrassed when he was, the times that he tried to talk to me about how I was doing, because I thought he was being critical, but he was
Mm-hmm.
just, I think now looking back at it as an older, person, I realized that he was just like, yeah, you're not supposed to be here. Let me
Mm-hmm.
get you out of here. And I remember, once I, um, once I got out, it just, I mean, once I got out, I realized, wow, there's a lot of stereotypes that people make, that the school system makes about, immigrants, and
Mm-hmm.
so, and I think because my mom, I didn't have anyone to be my advocate, or also I didn't have anyone to tell my mom, like, Mom, this class is so easy for me, or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
like, I'm
Mm-hmm.
sure if I had parents who could rally for me,
Mm-hmm.
it would have ended differently. But luckily enough, I had Mr. Allen, and
Yeah.
within that year, he moved me to, the higher, level.
I want to just comment on the fact that in a way, you were lucky that you had a teacher that recognized that and the teacher that cared, because you could have just gone through the system and
Yep,
it would have failed you because you didn't have someone
yep,
speaking up for you at that time. And you know what? I actually feel the same way. It happened to me when I was I think it was in grade 1 or 2. I was put into an ESL class. And,
yeah,
at that time, I was very soft spoken. But that didn't mean that I didn't know what was going on in the class. It's funny because when we were in
yeah,
English as a second language class, it was a bunch of Asian kids and some other kids of other ethnicities. We
hmm,
learned stuff quicker than what was learned in the standard grade 2 class, because
yep,
I'd go back to the
yeah,
grade 2 class and I'm like, we already learned cursive. Like I already know how to
yeah,
write
yeah,
in cursive at that time, and I already knew that like
yeah,
definitions of words that were
yeah,
covered in my normal
yeah,
class. But it's funny because yeah, they just assumed that I didn't know how to speak English because I was quiet. I don't remember being tested or anything either. But yes, like you, I was lucky that teachers saw my capabilities.
and but Mr. Allen, because he spoke up for me, like, I didn't understand it then, and but within a year, I realized, oh, like, you need to have someone champion for you, you know, like, you need to be vocal. And so that was when I started being more involved, like, in my
Mm.
own, education, in my younger siblings' education. And I think that's why, my siblings have me, working with them when they were in high school, and, to get into colleges, and because I was just like, like, you can be your champion and you're going to be great, but like, I will also be there for you and supportive of you, and help you understand, like, why you should be taking what courses, what are the courses that are important for you to take if you want to pursue certain careers. Because I felt like,
You didn't have
um,
that.
I didn't have that, and then if I didn't have, and if I had had that, where would I be? Like, and then so that's why I'm very grateful for Mr. Allen, because he really, like, saw me, like, saw through the quiet girl. I'm very appreciative of him.
Hmm. So
I don't
beyond
know
grade
where he
6,
is, so
you probably can find him on Facebook if he's still around.
yeah, I know we're old now. Yeah,
Not quite. We're just getting started. I feel like life is
yeah,
just getting
yeah,
started. Honestly, this whole exploring my identity and trying to reconnect with my heritage, it does feel like I'm sort of reborn and finding myself again. I feel like I'm just
yes,
starting my
yeah.
journey
I
and
feel
reading.
exactly. Yes, I agree.
Mhm. So what happened after grade 6, and then how did you make your way to Brooklyn? Can you fill in the gap there?
Oh, that's a long trajectory. I know we're not old, but but I'm gonna date myself, here. So I grew up in Santa Ana, so my formative years were in Santa Ana, and I was around a lot of Cambodians. I, had a group of Cambodian girlfriends who, I was very close with during that time period, and we were all in varying degrees of, like, nerdiness, and Cambodianness. Like, some of us spoke Cambodian, some of us didn't. Some of
Mm,
us were, loved school, some of us didn't. But there was a group of 7 of us that were pretty close. And but not all of us went off to college. And that's the split, I think. So I had the summer that we were going, the summer that we were going to college, 9/11 happened. And when 9/11 happened, my mom was just like, "See, this is why you shouldn't go, off to college. Like who's going to take care of you? Who's going to be there for you?" But I actually was just like, "Oh, New York is a place that like it turned my attention to another part of the world, and I started thinking about New York. And I was following the stories about how the New York community came together after 9/11 and helped each other out, and how people, not only was there trauma, but there was also like hope and resilience and community coming together to help each other out. And so that's what I took away from it. And I think that was when I started thinking about, are we healing? That was when I really started focusing on thinking about whether or not my family was healing, and if we were growing and together becoming the best version of ourselves. And I think for me, like I probably was the slowest to heal, because I busied myself with helping others. So I got into UCLA as a civil engineer, which was a hard degree to get into. But it was harder for me once I got there, because I remember my first class, I was the only female in like a 20 student classroom, and I, sat up front, and I just got a lot of attention that I felt was not what I wanted. I just wanted to belong, but I was like,
Mm-hmm.
I stood out in all the wrong ways, I felt. And then so like by the first year, like I was struggling in college. I was the first person to go to college in my family. By the second year, my mom and dad had split. And then I really felt like when I was calling home to talk to my siblings, I really felt the hurt and confusion in their voice. And so, like, by the third year, my boyfriend who I was with at that time cheated on me. And so I like was like, okay, this is probably the best time for me to go back, to like, take a pause from UCLA and just, go back home. And so it took me like 9 years to get my college degree in it. And a lot of it was because I didn't prioritize it, because my mom raised me to be, a good Cambodian girl. And a good Cambodian girl does take care of her family, before
Mm-hmm.
herself. And so when my siblings, my own, were hurting, I was just like, yeah, so I need to come back, and I need to earn money, like get a job, earn money, help support my mom and my siblings. And then once they're like, settled, then I'll pursue my degree again.
So was the importance of education
No,
really put upon
no,
you? No. So that was your own
that's my own.
tenacity and grit.
That, that was what that was what I wanted for myself. And
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because when I got accepted to UCLA, to Berkeley, my mom was just like, that's not a woman's role. A woman's role is to get married and
Wow.
have kids, and I was like, I don't want to have kids right now. I also don't want to get married. But that was my mom's, her, what she saw as what's right. And luckily my dad was really proud of me, and was just
Mm-hmm.
like, if you could, if you want to do it, you do it. But like my mom, it's taken her so many years for her to be okay with having daughters who are rebellious or different from what the Cambodian daughters should look like, or be like.
Mm-hmm.
And I, I feel like I am a rebel, like I went to college even though my mom told me that I shouldn't, and I did it because I knew that if I didn't do it, my siblings couldn't do it as well. Because my mom would always say to me, "Your sister never did that," referring to my older sister. And I would be like, I don't care, But my younger siblings weren't as argumentative as I am.
Mm-hmm.
So like if my mom said that to them, they might be like, okay, so I was just like, no, I'm going to do it so that my siblings could. Like I went to prom because if I didn't do it, I knew my siblings couldn't do it.
Mm-hmm. You
Like
broke the ice for everyone.
yeah, and
Where did you get that from? Where do you think, like, where did that stem from?
I don't know. I, I
Like,
mean, I
what
think
influenced you, you think?
You
in
know,
kind of rebelling against your mother?
I feel like it comes in two different ways. One is, and I see this in you, we both have freckles, right? Yeah. And
Yeah.
so for me, I'm the only one in my family who has freckles.
Hmm.
And so
Same.
that was very different, you know, and so I always stood out because I had freckles.
Mhm.
And so that was like something that was different about me. And because I had freckles, people would comment on me, you know, like I was an object and not like an actual person, you know.
Hmm.
And so I already stood out, and it always infuriated me. It really infuriated me, and
Like you
and
were, like as if you weren't. Well, how would they make you feel when they say
so
that?
so I don't know if you know the word
Ayoroi,
for
yeah,
yeah, adroy, yeah, fly shit,
yeah,
you know, right? And so to me, I would just be like, isn't there another word? Like, why are you like disparaging me? You know, why are you calling something on my body, you know, fly shit, you know? And I
yeah,
would just like, and I would argue with my mom about it. And so, and I guess maybe most kids wouldn't argue with their parents about it or
yeah.
their mom about it. They would just
Uh-huh.
be like, okay, whatever, mom, you know? But I would just say like, mom, like, why would you say that? Why would you call the marks on my body fly shit? And she's like, that's what they are. And I'm like, I don't, like, there must be another word in Cambodian, because I was like, in English, it's not called, fly shit, you know? And,
You know what? I think
but
it's like that in Vietnamese and Lao as well. I'm not sure about Thai, but I asked my girlfriends and they said, yeah, we call it that too. Must be a Southeast Asian thing.
it's so crazy. But so there's that, right? So like I was
Uh-huh.
always just like my tolerance for people commenting on my body was not high. So
Mm.
I would argue with my mom about it and my aunts and whatever. And the second was that I um, read the Vindication of the Rights of Women when I was pretty young, Betty Friedan's book, and it was probably too advanced for me, but I did pick up a lot of like feminist ideas from them from her book. I felt in a lot of social settings, like going to the temple, you know, my mom and my dad really believed in giving one, you know, to one, and so we were at the temple a lot, and I hated being told or being reminded that I couldn't touch the monk because girls are like, you know, are unclean, and you know we're not allowed to touch the monks because of that. And I was just like, what is this? You know, I don't know if you remember your parents ever mentioning this to you about the
Yeah, I don't know
monks.
the rationale behind it. I've never explored that. I just thought
Mm.
it was a
And
respect thing.
so I think that's probably another very me thing, is that I question everything. So I would always just be like, why? Why can't we touch?
Mm.
Why can't I touch the monk and my brother can? You know, like why
Hmm.
can't I? Like I don't understand. So I think that's just something that's uniquely me, that I do question how why things are the way they are. You know, why things are done a certain way, um, and because of that, I'm just more willing to challenge the status quo and what
Hmm.
is considered normal. Yeah, so
Yeah. So you think, well, your upbringing required you to be resourceful, A, and then B, a lot of your excuse me, the way that your teacher stood up for you and championed you, that really influenced you as well in speaking up for yourself. And then when you were
mhm.
later on a teenager, you read sorry, I forget the title of the book, but it was an influential book for you in
Yeah, the
terms of
vindication of the yeah, it was
yeah, adopting feminist ideas.
yeah, because I mean, and I think I just for me personally, I always wanted more for myself. I didn't know what exactly more was,
Mm,
but I felt that that there was more out there for me.
mm,
And even though I didn't know what it was, you know, and we weren't like other interesting thing too was that we weren't watching like, you know, Dawson's Creek or the popular TV shows. Like we were
Mm,
watching Cambodian movies at home,
mm,
or Chinese movies dubbed in Cambodian.
mm,
And so like my Americanism didn't really start until my little siblings were watching like Power Rangers or like, Digimon or Pokemon. And that's also, a very small subset of what American, nism is. So I never saw like the Beverly Hills 90210 and like, the
Oh,
sort of,
really?
yeah, I never watched those types of shows and saw that idea of what American or of what, what I wanted. So for me, the things I wanted came from books. So I was reading things like Nancy Drew, who
Mm-hmm.
is she's also very strong-willed, and she's like a detective, and she's going and solving mysteries, by herself, and then or like the Babysitter Club, Christy, who invented the idea of starting a babysitting company so that she can organize her friends and also make more money to
Mm-hmm.
buy things like candy or clothes or whatever. So those were my role models. The characters that were in these books became
Mm-hmm.
people who I thought, okay, and all those those characters were always like very strong-willed women or girls,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and I admired them, and I never, because they're characters, right, in novels, they could have been me.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't think of them as white girls. I just thought of them as like girls like me,
Mm-hmm.
and as a result, I thought I could be them too.
So you mentioned that you knew you always wanted to improve your life and there was something better for you out there. Uh,
Hmm.
And you mentioned books were a big influence in the characters in these books help shape how you think and what you wanted out of life. Did you have anyone in real life that you looked up to?
I think they were always teachers,
Mm-hmm.
like Mr. Allen again. My kindergarten teacher was the one that I remember loving a lot. She's the one that actually introduced me to my love of books. Because when I was in kindergarten, I actually didn't speak any English, but I didn't need to speak English. I knew another language, which was love. Like I knew she loved
Oh,
me.
uh-huh.
Um, but yeah, most of the people that I admired were teachers because they were the ones who educated me, and they were the ones I spent a lot of time with uh, outside of my home.
So how come you didn't go into teaching? You studied civil engineering.
It's actually a really stupid and also sad reason. So in our community, in the Santa Ana community, there was an outbreak of tuberculosis when I was in middle school, and so I had a false positive test. And so they didn't believe me or my older sister when she said that I had gone in
Immunized?
the immunized when I was in the refugee camp.
Mm-hmm.
And we didn't have records of it, so they didn't believe it, and so they put me on medication, and then I was required every year to be have my chest examined or X-rayed, and so I had that. And in the school system in California, I didn't. You can't test positive for tuberculosis to be a teacher, and so that's why I wasn't able to pursue being a teacher. And it was like I was very upset by it. And I mentioned that my life changed when I was in my 30s. Go ahead, sorry.
So still to this day, like if you wanted to not do it because you had that false positive
No, so I
result.
didn't. So I didn't know it was false positive. So it wasn't until I was in my 30s that I realized that it was a false positive because I had changed my primary care doctor, and this doctor is probably the best doctor I've ever had. She did an intake that lasted about an hour and a half, and I learned. She basically listened to me tell my story, my medical history, and she said, "I'm going to put your fears to rest. I'll just have you run your blood." uh, run blood work for you to test whether or not you have tuberculosis, because it sounds as though back then you had a false positive, and that was the first time I heard anyone say this to me, and so we ran that I was negative for tuberculosis because
Mm-hmm.
and then and then I remember talking to my mom and my older sister about it, and I was so angry because I was just like, why didn't we if like I never had tuberculosis, and I my life would have been different if they had believed us, when I was in middle school. And I think this is why I'm so outspoken now. It's because like I feel as though there have been pivotal moments in my life when I was silent,
Mm-hmm.
or I was made to be silent or whatever, or I wasn't believed, and so now I think, what's going to happen if I speak up?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what's the worst that could happen?
Mm-hmm.
And so when I argue with my when I got the blood work and found out that I don't have tuberculosis at like 33 years old, that was when I was just like, okay, you know what? I can't do this anymore. Like I can't be this quiet version of me, and that was when I like started thinking about leaving UCLA. I started thinking about like moving out of California to New York. I was like, what do I want for myself? Like have
Mm-hmm.
I been like silencing myself? Have I been silencing myself, and how so? And I realized, yeah, I have been. I've been a writer for all these years, but I've kind of like tiptoed around the issues that I want to write about because I was worried about like how would I come across, I was worried about like offending people, and so I wasn't writing freely enough. I was
Mm-hmm.
self-censoring because I was worried about how would I would come across. And I think that was like the first, seed or moment, and then COVID happened. And when COVID happened, and I live in New York City, I live by myself, and going on the trains and having people say racist things to me about being Chinese, and telling me to go back to where I come from, and realizing that even though I think that I'm American, other people view me as Asian, and and if they're viewing me as Asian, what do I even know what type of Asian I am? Do I even know myself to be able to like contradict that, or just like just have an awareness of who I am? And so
Mm-hmm.
coming out of COVID was when I realized, I'm Cambodian, I'm Khmer, and I'm not going to be afraid to be myself anymore. And that was when I started looking into my Cambodian clothing, and like it was just researching. I was like researching about Cambodian, and I was like, something that I've always loved is our Cambodian fabric. The sung, the pamong, and I started buying fabric and having I found a tailor named Jenny, and she and I started creating pieces together so that I can wear to the office, like really just Western, pieces, right? That are appropriate. And in the beginning, I was pretty like conservative about it. I would wear blacks and blues, still Cambodian fabric, but like
Mm-hmm.
darker colors, so
Mm.
they weren't,
They weren't too
obvious.
loud.
Yeah, yeah. And then now, like, I mean, the other day I wore a yellow sun sheet dress, and
Mm-hmm.
my boss was just like, and I was just like so dramatic, but now I'm like more like I know that when I walk around Manhattan, and people see me, they're not seeing me as an American person, right? They're seeing me as an Asian person, and I'm now more willing to like be seen fully as Asian. And the reason why is because I'm not wearing it for them, right? I'm wearing it for other Cambodian people. Like I love it when someone stops me and tells me, is that Khmer, or it was like, or is that Thai? I'm yes, talk to me about my Cambodian clothing. Like
Mm-hmm.
I am happy to share. I'm also happy to randomly get stopped and say, are you Cambodian? I'm like, yes. And she's like, oh, I thought so because of the skirt you're wearing or whatever. Like that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking to I'm not wearing it for the American people. I'm wearing it for the Cambodian people because I want you to see me and to come up to me and have a conversation with me, because like I want that community. I want to be able to say, hey, you can be yourself, you can wear your heritage and be proud of it.
Yeah. I think outside of the Southeast Asian population, and you do have a handful of people who know about our history, but in the general public doesn't really know that much about Cambodians.
Yeah.
Like the other day, I
Yes.
was talking to someone, a product consultant, like a wine specialist at a liquor store,
Mhm.
and I was telling her where I was from. She's like, "Oh, where's that?" I'm like, "Are you serious? You don't know?" But I didn't think that. It's just, it's 2025, and I can
Yes.
understand back in 1990, I used to get that question a lot when I
Yeah.
was in my teens and early 20s. But now I just wonder, like, how do you not know where Cambodia is? Like, not even that. Obviously I'm Asian, but they don't really know that it's in Southeast Asia. Whereas
Yeah.
I feel like what you're doing is important because we have been invisible for a very long time,
Yes.
and we've been in North America since the late 70s, early 80s. And how do people not know about our history? And
Yeah.
you're also bringing up a lot of you're igniting conversations, important conversations to be had later on too, because our culture was almost killed off. Like the
Yeah.
artists
Yep.
were targeted, and it's important to show how rich our heritage is, because otherwise people don't care if you're not living out
Yeah.
loud like you are.
Well, that's so the word you use is invisible, right? So I
Mhm.
feel as though for most of my life um, I was trying to blend in,
Mhm.
blend in the name of being more professional, blend in the name of being more Americanized. I was trying to belong,
Mhm.
and then the pandemic happened and I realized that, oh, even if I did everything, wore the blue suit, whatever black suit, like, cut my hair short, whatever, like anything that I did, it never would erase the fact that I'm Cambodian, that I'm Asian. And
Mhm.
so,
Mhm.
like, and to me, I felt like I could either swing one way. I could be angry about it, like angry about the guy who threw his beer can at me,
Mhm.
angry about the lady who yells at me for no reason, and or I could be like,
Celebrating
let
it.
me, yeah, yes, I would, and my and gosh, like in the beginning I did it quietly, right,
Mhm.
and then I was just like, my mom is so proud of me. My aunts are so proud of me. Why am I not proud of me? And I realize I'm not. The reason why I'm not proud is um, because I still was like censoring myself. And in the moment I realized
Mhm.
that no, I don't. I'm not going to be invisible. Let me I can have a voice. Like I right now I'm in such a place of privilege. And if I don't use that privilege in the way that I would continue to make myself and my mom proud, then I'm like missing something,
Mhm.
like I'm missing that opportunity.
Can
Um,
you share with listeners your Instagram handle so people can see what you wear to the office?
oh, sure. So it's just Sam Lee underscore V101. And the V is just, how like, I don't know if you know this, but when you're working on something, you have a version control. So you're like V10 V. And so that's my idea. It's like I'm always going to be a different version of me. And hopefully I'm improving with every single iteration that I'm saving down. But um, that's like the nod, a little nerdy, um,
Mhm.
but that's
Let's
me.
talk about your professional journey now. You got your degree. What did you get your degree in from UCLA?
So I changed from civil engineering to English,
Mm-hmm.
and I got my MBA. I it took me 9 years. Sorry, let me just for my bachelor's degree, it took me 9 years to earn my English degree, and
Mm-hmm.
then last year was when I finished my master's, and I earned my master's when um, while I was working at the private equity firm that I'm still at now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm coming up on my 7 years at Sagewind. Um, so I am not I am like the most untraditional, non-traditional person. Yeah, because I've had like 7 full-time jobs. I've
Yeah.
worked lots
Share
of
with us what
part-time
you've gone
jobs.
through.
Yeah, I mean, I just, I worked multiple jobs. I've, had like a full-time job, part-time job. I've done gigs. I've been like a photographer. I've been a event planner. I've planned weddings before.
Mm-hmm.
For me, my jobs before Sagewind and before UCLA, jobs were a way to earn money to support my family. It wasn't My job wasn't my identity. And
Yeah.
even now, like, yes, yeah, okay, I'm a VP at a private equity firm. That's a fancy title, right? But
Mm-hmm.
for me, if you ask me what I do for a living, what I do for a living is I take care of people. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I'm in human resources.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so my life and what I think is important isn't about what I do for a living. It's about,
Mm-hmm.
am I helping people?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Can you tell us how you got into that?
Into so I, for private equity, I was working at UCLA. I was an assistant director there, and I ran a center called the Business of Science, and that center was created to look at technology that was invented at UCLA, mainly medical technology, and so we were looking um, at ways that these inventions could move out of the university space and into the quote unquote real world. So it was trying to commercialize them, and because of this, all of this were attracting venture capital folks, and these venture capital folks would be willing to take to give you $100,000 or $10,000 to help take you to the next stage. And for me, it made me really jaded because VC, if you know much about the VC world, or a lot of ideas fail. Like it's usually like 1 in 100 or 1 in 1,000 ideas um, will go to the next stage. But what I learned is that um, investors matter. Like whoever it is that gives the money, they matter because they help the inventor, get to the next stage. And so when I left UCLA, I decided to move to New York. And when I moved here to New York, I really wasn't sure what I was looking for. I wanted to be in finance.
Mm-hmm.
And I met my boss. And my boss and I, in our interview, spoke about the genocide. He's Jewish, so he spoke about the Holocaust, and
Mm-hmm.
me being Cambodian, I spoke about the Khmer Rouge, and so most of our interview was talking, or it was just discussing the two different genocides. And I remember um, when we there was a lull in our conversation, I thought, oh shoot, why am I talking about death in an interview? I just blew this interview, and the position that I was interviewing for with him was a very entry level like person. I think it was I was a personal assistant for him. And but what I was interviewing for at that time wasn't for a position. I was interviewing for culture. Like I wanted to work
Mm-hmm.
for someone who I would respect, who
Mm-hmm.
like saw me, and he saw that I was Asian, and he asked me what type of Asian I was, and not in that way, but and so like he knew about the Khmer Rouge, and I felt like this is
Mm-hmm.
someone I wanted to work for. Like I want to work for someone who, like you were saying, like who knows where Cambodia is, who knows what happened to our people, because at least I feel like I could be seen, right? And Steve, that's my boss's name, Steve has just given me the opportunity to be myself. Like he knew I wanted to get an MBA. He was supportive of it. He like
Mm-hmm.
financially, he supported me getting an MBA, and he's just like allowed me to grow into my role here.
So you've
Whether
been
it
with
be
them for 7 years,
yes, for
and you've
7 years.
had progressively, excuse me, sorry, you've had,
Mm,
you've grew in that company in those 7
yes.
years.
hmm
Why did you want to get an MBA?
I wanted to get an MBA because I felt like there was a lot of things that I didn't know, and there was a lot of other things that I knew that I didn't know that I didn't know. And I want to one day be an investor. I
Okay.
know I am an investor now, but I wanted to be an investor. I wanted to be able to think about not just about business operations and how to run a business, but also about how can you help people grow their business, and also like how do different countries grow? Like what are the um, how do economics and politics and play into the financial markets of like a company being successful? And so there's other things that the MBA will teach you, but those are the things I like sought out for myself.
Did your mom question why you were going back to school after all these years of
Oh,
already having a good job?
yes. My mom was just like, why aren't you married? Why aren't you having kids? Yeah, yes. She's just like, she's like, you're 30 something. I was like 37, 38. I forget how old I was when I went back. She's like, why? Like, why do you need this?
Uh-huh.
Like my mom has never understood me. Like she's just like I am probably like her odd child, but I think my siblings all feel the same way, that mom doesn't really understand them.
Yeah.
Um,
Did she
um,
push education on your brothers?
I mean, oh, that's like a whole nother like topic, if we wanted to get into that, right? Because like, yeah, the in Asian cultures and in Cambodian culture, the boys can do no wrong,
Mm-hmm.
you
Mm-hmm.
know, you know. So I feel like we could open up another can of worms if we want to talk about that. But
Let's talk about let's talk about your Substack. Why did you start
oh, sure.
publishing articles online as opposed to keeping a journal, personal one?
So I've kept a journal since I was in my teens.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Probably even younger than that. So I've been writing for a long time. And I used to have a blog on Blogger, which I deleted. And for me, it was also right after the pandemic. One of my cousins came to visit me, and and this is where the conversation about my cousins having different experiences growing up than I did. So as the older sibling or the oldest cousin, I always just felt like responsible. So I felt like I was the one that organized, the games, what took care of the kids, changed diapers, fed them, and so I felt like whenever we were together, things were really fast and chaotic. But
Mm-hmm.
my cousin, she just remembered like me taking care of her, and so like that was her memory, um, and 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 seeing me go out and do things and wanting to do things herself as well. So she said, she's like, whenever you write, like I feel like um, that it's possible for me too. And that was the first time I realized that like, oh, like I'm not writing just for myself, like in my own
Mm-hmm.
clarity. I'm writing so that inadvertently I'm also inspiring other my cousins, and I wasn't even thinking about other people. I was just like, I'm inspiring my cousins. Good for them. Like I want my cousins, my girl cousins, to be both a mom and a professional woman. Like I want them to be strong, to go after what they want for themselves. And so
Mm-hmm.
um, so when I'm writing and when I'm sharing now, a lot of the things that I'm sharing is about like being different and wanting more for yourself, and being different for me, and I can't, like, there's some people that don't share what ethnicity they are. I'm just like, I'm Cambodian, like,
Mm-hmm.
and being Cambodian is, or being Khmer is a big part of who I am and how I see the world. And being Khmer American is also a big part of it. So I share because I wish really that there had been someone like me for me when I was younger. And if I can
Mm-hmm.
be that inspiration or that bong for whomever that needs it, I'm happy to be, and I don't, like I'm not trying to be like an influencer. That's not it. I'm just, because when I'm sharing because I want, like I feel like there's a part of me that's kind of sad that at that age I didn't have someone.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sharing to say like, hey, at that age I didn't have someone, but me at 41, I am at a better place now, and if I can help you, reach out. Um, and
Have you
so
had
when my
people reach out to you since you started writing?
yes, like honestly, if one person reaches out to me, I'm so happy,
Yeah.
because like to me, it's not, like I always tell my husband that the my biggest fans are his mom, his sister, him, and my siblings, and I'm just like, great. Like I love that for me. I love that that my families are supportive of what I do. For the owns who reach out to me, like I'm always happy to help, because
Mm,
I want, like I feel as though sometimes the younger Cambodian generation needs someone to say, hey, I see you,
mm-hmm.
you know, and and this is how you should, this is the things that this is why you should be proud, and whether it be like helping them translate the skills that they already have so that they can pursue something different, or there's there's a lot of ways to change your narrative, and
Mm-hmm.
talking to an older mom who's had like her 11 jobs and all those experiences, like I'm very good at being able to share how my experiences can make me succeed in something else, and so,
Mm-hmm.
but yes, the Substack really is just, it's for the owns and mainly for the Khmer own Srai who needs a bong to, like, look up to talk to, and so anytime that they reach out to me, like I always reach back.
Yeah. And that they don't have to do it alone.
Yes, yeah, yeah, because
Did you
I
feel like you had to do it alone most of the time?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I
And that's
did.
hard.
Yes, it's very hard. And I wish, that's the thing, I wished I wish I knew then that I didn't have to.
Mm-hmm.
Like the part of me
Mm-hmm.
knew that I didn't have to. That's why I had the buddy system,
Mm-hmm.
but a part of me was just like, you know,
But where do you go, like for someone who's older? Because the buddy system was implemented to because you had younger siblings to help you.
yeah,
But in terms
yes,
of paving a path or having someone help you guide your future, it wasn't there for us.
yeah,
So thank
yeah.
you for putting it out there. So if anyone
And
wants to connect, yep,
yeah, I mean, the other thing too is that I think sometimes when I think people are hesitant to reach out because they think that I might not mean it, that I
yeah.
might not have time,
Oh,
and
you're
and
this big
that's
shot that
yeah,
may not
yeah,
have
yeah.
time. Yeah.
I am not a big shot. I'm far from it. I when I talk, in real life, I'm hugely self-deprecating, and but for me, it's like I'm 41 years old. I have no kids. I have a husband. I have two cats. I probably work way too many hours in a week. So if they need my help, it's like an excuse to not work. Basically it is. It's just, for me, I get a lot of joy out of someone else's success. Like
Hmm.
being in, you know, being a VP of operations mean I'm a behind the scenes person, and I love being behind the scenes. Like, if you message me and you tell me that you got the job because, you were able to rethink how to talk about the, 1.5 year gap in your resume, like great, fantastic. Like I'm happy that I was able to help you think through that, and I'm not trying to, like, I'm not like, there's some people also who are just like, oh, you're trying to start a coaching. No, I'm like, no, like, I love my job. I love what I do. I just feel like I have all this like love and time to give,
Mm-hmm.
because I am, unfortunately, I'm childless right now. But like, I have this time and energy to give, and so if you need me, my offer is always there, and I feel like I've never turned any kid down who needed my help.
You heard her. Connect with her before she gets too busy. I just want to go to your advice now to your
Oh,
younger
sure.
self. And you wrote down, you don't have to earn your worth. You are already enough. And then
Yeah.
you went on to say that simple truth would have made a world of difference to the teenage me trying so hard to be everything for everyone.
Yeah.
You are enough. You felt like you were trying to prove your worth?
Yes. I felt it like, in middle school, when I was in the ELS class, that I wasn't, like, I was misjudged,
Mm-hmm.
misunderstood. So like, I feel like for me, and also I think our moms, our Cambodian moms also don't, you know, they're always kind of like critical of us, so like,
Mm-hmm.
the example that comes to mind is like, you're at an award ceremony, you get two awards, and then some other kid gets three, and your mom is not like happy that you got two. She's like comparing you to the kid that got three.
I was
you know,
just
you
thinking
know.
that. Honestly, I was just thinking that. I remember my grade 8 graduation. I was one of the, I guess, I don't know what you would call it, like the one of the MCs. And I never got recognized. I was never celebrated for that. And then I also won 3 awards. And I never I felt good for myself. Like the kids came up to me and they're like, "Oh, wow, you got 3 awards." But my parents never said anything either. And I
Hmm.
don't know if I know that they were proud of me now, but back then I didn't really feel it. I
Yeah.
thought that maybe I could have done better too, like as if 3 wasn't enough when, there were lots of people who got nothing.
Yes.
So I feel that. I feel that
And so I
you are
just
enough.
wish, yeah, and I just wish I knew that it was okay, that two was okay, or whatever
Yeah.
it was, that 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 um, it wasn't a criticism. It's just, they.
I don't know if they know how to show appreciation to us. I see them do it to my kids now, but I look at it, I'm like, I never got that sort of affection growing
Yes.
up.
Yeah. And yeah, so I wish I knew. I mean, I didn't realize that I was enough until I was in my late 30s, and
Mhm.
I and I think also it's, part of it is me, right? I didn't go to therapy until I was a lot older. I didn't go to therapy until I was like 37, and so for me, my my understanding of myself and my willingness to have the hard conversations with my mom and my older sister didn't start happening until then, so like, I if I was able to to talk to my mom about, mom, were you proud of me? Or,
Mhm.
like, or if I was able to have that conversation earlier, it would have changed things, like,
Mhm. Your
because,
healing
you know
would
yeah, you
healing would
know
have started a bit earlier, yeah.
yeah, and but that's okay, and I think that I
Mhm.
probably wasn't ready, because like, the conversation that I have now, I am ready for it now,
Mhm.
like, I'm not like, sort of like flinching or hiding,
Mhm.
or, and that to me is more important, that I
Mhm.
am able to, like, um to have the hard conversation, to like to cry, to see my mom cry, and like, just not walk away from it, or
Mhm.
not shut down emotionally, to be able to just be there, and I think now that I know that I'm enough,
Yeah.
that I personally know I'm enough, not that anyone else is telling me that I am enough, that
Mhm.
now that I know that I'm enough, I feel like from there I've been able to do so much more, and to, like,
Mhm.
write more, to like not silence myself before other people can silence me, like.
Mm-hmm. Sorry, I'm feeling it too. What's one or two things that you want listeners to take away from your story?
I think the most important thing is that healing isn't linear. It's,
Mm-hmm.
I think that like when you reclaim your story, it doesn't mean that you're erasing the things that have hurt you. It means that you're holding the hurts, the traumas, or whatever it is that happened, and you're holding those things that happened with both honesty for what happened, but also compassion. Compassion not just for yourself, but for the people that were involved. And I think that's really hard to do, because it really is looking at it fully, not just from your lens, but from the people involved. And so I think that's the one thing, the main thing. And the other thing is that, like, it's okay to begin again. Whether it's like learning a language that you thought you would never be able to speak again, wearing the bright clothing so that you can express yourself and not be shy about it, or like just choosing joy, right? Choosing joy after years of feeling that you're just trying to survive. You're allowed to be yourself. Yeah. Like, and to show yourself, to express yourself, you don't have to be invisible to be accepted. You can be your full self, and then the people who accept you are the people who are the most meaningful.
So with your outfits and your writing, what do you hope to achieve in like 2 years with that? You're continuing doing that. Do you hope to see more people doing what you're doing, wearing Cambodian outfits loud and proud?
Yeah, yes, I am. Like, I think that, like, I would love for more people, more Cambodians, to be wearing Cambodian clothing. Like, I would love that. I think, because I want to be able to walk around and recognize another Cambodian person by what they're wearing. I think it would be fantastic. And I think for the writing piece, I think that um, there's not enough Cambodian writers out there, and I want to be. And I want to be one, but I also want to be supportive of other Cambodian writers. Support can come in different ways, and for me, I'm not writing a memoir. That's the other thing that people ask me too. That's not what my goal is. My goal is to be a fiction writer, and I am working on my writing. But the post that I share on my Substack is just to encourage the younger generation, to be able to say to them, and to also just to heal myself too, because when I'm writing to them, I'm really, in a big way, I'm writing to myself. I'm like, coming to terms with that younger version of me, and seeing her, and holding her and saying, hey, you're going to be all right.
Nan, you turned out more than all right. And I know the little girl you were would be so proud of who you've become. I'm proud of you. As a child, you had to grow up quick, and you had to be resourceful. You exercised admirable patience and grit, and you learned how to navigate unfamiliar territory alone. You're a testament of Khmer women's resilience, and you are such an inspiration. Thank you for sharing your story, Own. This healing journey we're on, it's collective and feels even more meaningful to share and connect, doesn't it? You heard Nan. She welcomes you with open arms if you want to reach her, whether it's for mentorship or just a friendly conversation. You can find her socials in the show notes. Now, if you enjoyed this episode, share it with someone you think would benefit from it too. Ako for listening, Nathang Aknia, and we'll be back in 2 weeks.